What's up, everyone? Kilosaurus Rex here, and
I actually thought
who in their right mind would buy the same figure with different paint and different accessories and different little details over and over because it looks a little bit different at the beginning of the film over again.
Despite how many times I've already looked at this exact same figure design, I have to admit, this version's the best. So, what else can I say except, here we go! The HIYA Toys Exquisite Basic GVK Kong 2.0 is, without a shadow of a doubt, HIYA Toys apologizing for the sad attempt that was their first ever Kong figure.
And to all those affected, I want to say, we are deeply sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry.
Now, before I carry on with this review, I will address the monkey in the room. Yes, this is the exact same mold and design that HIYA Toys has used on the GXK Kong and the GXK Beast Club Kong, which means HIYA Toys is using some sort of rinse and repeat cycle when engineering their Kong figures. And is that really a bad thing? There are two reasons that I'm saying that. The first is because they've only done this to their Kong figures 3 times as opposed to the 57 times they've used the exact same Godzilla mold. The second reason I'm saying that is because the engineering HIYA Toys has applied to their Kong figures ever since the GXK versions has been their absolute peak level of figure tech. By the way, I've already reviewed both the GXK Kong, so go check out those videos for a more in-depth look at the figure itself. The foundation of these 3 figures is undoubtedly the exact same, which is to say, it's a beautiful sculpt, amazing articulation, solid joints with almost limitless range. For that reason, I will spend very little time comparing this figure to the GXK versions, and instead focus my effort on comparing it to its HIYA Toys namesake, the original GVK Kong. With that in mind, I'll simply say, HIYA Toys,
you've come a long way since we met.
The paint and detail on this figure is exactly what this Kong needed. Much lighter colored fur, highly saturated with muddy and kinda poopy brown color, which is perfectly in line with the colors of Kong in the movie. They somehow managed to make Kong look so much younger than he actually is. Even so, the colors of Kong in the movies and on the figures makes it look like he went from a middle-aged man to an elderly grandpa in just 2 movies. And if he actually ages like this in the movies, then when GXK2 comes out, he might be in a wheelchair, which would actually be a bit of a problem, because at this point, we all know who the main villain of GXK Supernova is gonna be.
Well, that's a problem. But not my fault. I did everything I could, and you did too. Also, why are you still here?
The paint is so realistic that not only does it look like Kong from the actual movie, it's also reminiscent of a real-life monkey. Speaking of realistic, if you take a closer look at certain areas like the hands, face, and chest, you'll notice the detail is taken to a whole new level. The weathering and coloring is magnificent. The hands look rough and jagged, like he was in a real jungle. The face has twice as much detail, and with the continued use of HIYA Toys glass eye engineering, he looks more alive than ever. And the color separation from his fur to skin is so well done that even his chest stands out beautifully from the rest of his body. Even his iconic chest scar is elevated in detail. Makes me realize just how much I missed Kong having 1 scar on his chest. But I do love the way he managed to get the other scars on his chest.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
But I'll tell you, one scar that I don't miss is that ugly-ass one on his back. Thank God that's gone. There's also a sculpting and design difference in the bottom half of his legs. Rather than the feet being fully sculpted into the ankles of the figure, there's actually a much wider sort of design aspect for the feet of this figure, which allows for a more solid connection from the ankles to the feet, and allows for a lot more articulation and posability in that aspect. It also allows there to be a very much needed upgrade in the figure's stability. I wonder why they included that. Other than those differences, I've already covered the sculpt and design of this figure. I have also already covered the articulation and engineering. What I haven't done is compare this figure's sculpt and articulation to the OG figure's sculpt and articulation. My God, what an amazing improvement. There is so much more range on this figure's articulation than the original version that I am still having trouble believing that these two were made by the exact same toy company. The original figure, when it came out, it wasn't really that bad. It was just no fun to handle. The range of the original figure's articulation is just pathetic when you compare it to this new version. Not to mention the sculpt and design. But looking back on it, the fur seems very lazily painted. The scar is, it's detailed, but it's not very well sculpted. The sculpt for the hands and heads, come on. And the head did have a really good sculpt. I actually liked it a whole lot. Plus, the eyes were pretty full of life, especially considering they were just painted on there. Which means, yes, this figure isn't really bad, it's not this. When you look at it as just another Kong action figure, it's really not bad. It's kind of nice in its own way. But when you look at it as specifically the HIYA Toys figure that it is, this guy's completely obsolete. The engineering applied to this figure, as well as the elevated amount of details on it, really emphasizes the fact that this is the absolute peak level of HIYA Toys Kong engineering. HIYA Toys brought their absolute A-game to this figure, showing minor improvements over the GXK line while also showcasing every possible improvement over the original. The paint, the detail, the sculpt, the articulation, all of it is so much better than the original version. It's almost enough to make you completely forget that this figure ever happened. Honestly, it might be better to forget that this figure happened. Just discontinue it and remove the 2.0 label off of this guy, and yeah, clean slate. As far as I'm concerned, this right here is the only HIYA Toys GVK Kong figure. To verify the difference between the films, this figure comes with some different accessories. Starting with the basics, the alternative faces, and hands. The paint, weathering, and detail on each of the alternative heads is just as amazing as the figure itself. As for the faces, they are the exact same sculpt that you get with the GXK versions. The roaring face looks just as amazing as ever, especially without that silver tooth right there, to better verify the difference between films. And the half snarl face actually looks a lot better on this version of Kong. Probably helps that there are several close-up moments of him actually making this face in the movie. A small part of me does miss the full tooth grin of the original figure, but that small part of me can also eat shit just like the full tooth grin of the original figure. The figure comes packaged with these standard fists, and the alternative hands are the same as the last two Kongs I've talked about. The last two accessories are actually exclusive to this particular figure. You get a singular right gripping hand, which actually has a noticeably much wider opening than the... Hey guys, Editing Kilosaurus Rex here, and if you're wondering why you weren't able to hear me just then and why you're not able to hear me right now, it's because the microphone actually cut off about halfway through the review. Probably has something to do with the fact that the input cable is damaged, but it didn't cut out for the entire rest of the review, thank God, because if it did, I would have been so pissed off that I would actually delete my channel. But it did cut out for the bit where I was talking about the last two accessories. So I'm gonna have to finish that up with this separate recording. So as I was saying, the next two accessories are a singular right gripping hand with a opening noticeably larger than the axe holding hands. And the reason it has a much larger opening is because it can hold this included Mechagodzilla head. And the mecha's head has such an incredible amount of detail that I have to talk about it separately. The Mechagodzilla head has some top tier level of paint, detail, and sculpting. The dark gray color is used amazingly, and the weathering and detail make it look almost like a real metal object, with some additional red paint in the eyes to recreate the red glow it had in the film, and bits of red painted on the teeth and inside the mouth to elevate the glowing effect. The wires attached to the head and neck are made of a soft, flexible material with a light red color and a beautiful amount of weathering to once again showcase the villainous glow he had in the movie. All this praise for the Mechagodzilla head game, and there's still no MonsterVerse Mechagodzilla figure! Come on, HIYA Toys! You're making some amazing Toho Mechagodzillas, and you're so good at making robotic and cybernetic figures that there is literally nothing stopping you from making a MonsterVerse mecha except your own release schedule. Honestly, this highly detailed Mechagodzilla head has got to be a prelude prelude to an official HIYA Toys mecha. I already called it with the release of this figure. I'm gonna call it again. HIYA Toys Monsterverse Mecha Godzilla figure in 2073. It'll happen. I promise you it'll happen. For now, all we get is this Mecha Godzilla head accessory that can plug into this right hand, which can also plug into Kong. And it looks really good. The right hand has a little bit of trouble holding the head, but if you take a heat gun to it, it's actually a little bit easier to attach. And thankfully, this is where the microphone cut back in. Before we cut back to the past version of Kilosaurus Rex to finish up this video, the last thing I have to say is that until my prediction comes true, we will only have one full version of the Monsterverse Mechagodzilla to pose alongside this Kong. The SH Monster Arts version, which I actually do have that version. What do you know? Looks pretty damn good, but unfortunately the SH Monster Arts mecha isn't as articulated or colorful as I'd like him to be. Plus, it has very few accessories, and it is quite unstable. And yes, I know that SH Monster Arts has a second version of this mecha that has more color and accessories, but if you listen to my SH Monster Arts rant in the last video, you would know that I will not be buying it. Also, I can't buy it? According to the website, it's been discontinued. What? Only 1 year after being released? What the actual fuck, SH Monster Arts? Why would you do that? It's not even a limited edition figure. Anyways, now that I've successfully roasted Bandai and predicted the future of HIYA Toys,
congratulations, you're a prophet. I'm a survivor.
Let's dive into the other size comparisons of this figure. I did start this figure's size comparisons off with the SH Monster Arts Mechagodzilla, but I would also like to do a quick size comparison between the SH Monster Arts Mecha and the HIYA Toys Mecha, or at least what little evidence we have of the HIYA Toys Mecha. The reason I want to do this size comparison between the mechas is just look at these awesome head sculpts. They're practically identical. Aside from the extreme detail on the HIYA Toys version, they're pretty much the exact same. Now, before you get any ideas thinking HIYA Toys somehow stole the design for the SH Monster Arts version, I would like to inform you that sculpting a symmetrical metallic robot is significantly easier than sculpting an asymmetrical living organism. I started off with this size comparison simply to say that the SH Monster Arts mecha looks amazing with the rest of the HIYA Toys lineup. It's almost like we don't need a HIYA Toys Mechagodzilla. But that's not gonna stop me from demanding one.
Okay, it's $500, you have no choice of carrier, the battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very—
Shut up and take my money!
Now for the Kong figure size comparisons. First up, the HIYA Toys GVK Kong, who will be getting replaced by this figure for future size comparisons. My first review, HIYA Toys Shimo. My previous review, HIYA Toys 2019 Ghidorah 2.0.
Wow! If I had a nickel for every time I was doomed by a puppet, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
As a bonus, here is the original HIYA Toys GVK Kong and the NECA 1933 King Kong, which I bought from a fellow collector a few months ago. The Sony water bottle, Funko Pop Godzilla Evolved, Lego Avengers, and last, but most certainly not least, HIYA Toys GXK Godzilla Pre-Evolved. Now, this size comparison would have caused a nerdgasm big enough to cover the camera, but unfortunately, after the more intense nerdgasm of my 2.0 Ghidorah review, my doctor had to prescribe me a several month long recovery period because the arch nemesis level of that nerdgasm nearly killed me. I think one of them popped. Nonetheless, this setup is an absolute must-have for all kaiju fans. These figures are both the essential peak of the HIYA Toys Monsterverse lineup, much like GVK being the absolute peak of the Monsterverse. Uh-oh, personal opinion revealed. Heresy detected. Pitchforks at the ready. Come on down to my house. The SH Monster Arts Mechagodzilla also adds a significant level of spice to the setup, but I do have to say, purchase at your own risk. While I physically can't get enough of these two figures together, there is still one thing that's missing from this Clash of the Titans setup. You know what that is?
My answer is 2 words.
Yep. Atomic Breath. While the other Atomic Breath Godzillas look great alongside this figure, it's getting a little exhausting having to carry around 2 Godzilla figures for every 1 Kong figure. But supposedly, HIYA Toys is releasing a solution to the Atomic Breath conundrum. The solution involves a new release of the GVK Godzilla figure that includes a light-up Atomic Breath feature, which will also provide some magnificent lighting for photos and videos. However, it's still unclear when it'll happen! Rumor has it the figure might be released in the late summer of this year, but it's basically July, and there's still no promotional video. But still, if HIYA Toys manages to release and ship out this figure by the middle of August, aka my birth month, I promise all of the HIYA Toy sins will be forgiven. Until that figure is released, I'll have to continue waiting for the single most nerdgasm-provoking figure setup in literal decades. Hopefully my balls will be fully recovered by then. Needless to say, I recommend this Kong figure to all kaiju fans. Perfect 8 out of 10. It is the single best figure version of the single best Kong version. Beautiful to look at, handles like a dream, virtually endless play possibilities. I would have given it a 10 out of 10 if it weren't for 2 minor flaws that I have yet to mention. You see, these shoulder covers aren't sculpted into the figure's torso like in the GXK versions, so they just kind of sit there and they are way too loose for my taste. Also because some of the accessories don't have a very stable connection, despite the fact that many of them are a complete bitch to install. But still, I didn't mention those flaws until just now because this figure has been such a fun play experience that I genuinely almost forgot about them. Even with those minor flaws, it is still well worth the price. And if you agree with the $55 price mark, then head over to the Kokis store where the figure will be in stock and on sale. Kokis store is so efficient at getting these figures shipped out that I genuinely don't know if it's faster to ship from the Kokis store or the official HIYA Toys website. And that's why I'll be using the subject of my next figure review to put on a little inconspicuous delivery race between Kokis Store and HIYA Toys. Yes, I pre-ordered 2 Behemoth figures. Don't ask me why. One was pre-ordered from HIYA Toys about a month after it was open for pre-order. The second was pre-ordered from Kokis Store the day the promotional video was released. And since they've both officially been shipped, the race is on! HIYA Toys versus Kokis Store delivery race. Which Behemoth arrives first? Ladies and gentlemen, place your bets in the comments below.
And he's coming around the corner, and he's got by a couple of hits, and he's hit by a truck. Oh, and he's getting Diego.
The winner will be announced in the next tour review. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, let me know what you think in the comments, and if there's any figures you'd like me to take a look at in the future, leave a suggestion, and I will consider it. Follow my Instagram for more pictures of this guy, as well as my other HIYA Toys Monsterverse figures. And if you haven't already, check out my official Kilosaurus Rex website. If you've already seen my website, you know it doesn't look like much, but keep your eyes on it because I plan to make some major updates in the future that will allow you to look at my edited and enhanced photos of my HIYA Toys figures, as well as several other figures that I haven't made videos for yet. And of course, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified when my next video comes out. Also, so that you're notified when my first official live stream starts in about a week, maybe less. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all later. Dear God, how many Kong figures do I have? What can I do with all of them together at this point? I don't know, maybe... Oh. No way. There's no way. Could it? Could it? Is this actually working? Lily, there's no way. Pinch me, Lily. There's no way this is actually working. I am the funniest man in the world! Oh, yeah! Hey, Mom! I'm a fucking genius!